There was 7 game 7s that took place this
Sheesh.
weekend between the NHL and NBA playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to see a ton of just great action, just great sports taking place. But let's start in Phoenix, where there was no bigger
my
shocker than the
gosh.
Mavs putting in work against the Suns, going
my
into
gosh.
halftime, 30-point lead. In fact, at the midway point, it was literally the Suns 27, Luka 27, single-handedly. Luka took over, and I think for me, had to have supplanted himself as the number one top dog left in the playoffs remaining. Better than Steph right now, better than Jimmy. Mavs cruise 123-90, stunned the Suns home crowd. Luka puts up 35 and 10. They got up early, Reggie, and the Suns just had absolutely no answer in this one. Devin Booker, Chris Paul, both held in check. Props to head coach Jason Kidd. I thought he did a great job drawing up a great game plan to limit both of them. Reggie, big shocker for sure to see this one play out the way it did, especially when we're used to seeing such, dramatic, close, down-to-the-wire finishes in Game 7 matchups.
And Phoenix was your team, man.
You got to say that? Don't remember.
They were your team. But you know what? They were the team that I thought was going to do it too. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at it, they were 64 wins, the number 1 seed in the West. Like,
got up 2-0 in the series.
Yeah.
Let's go chalk. Let's go 4-1 and get out of here. Yeah.
I really don't know what happened, honestly. Like, and then you come out in a Game 7 with that type of effort. Man. I hate to bring this up, but when we saw the Wild come out in their Game 6, and you're like, look, you guys have your backs against the wall, and they just don't show up. Like, this is kind of similar. It's Game 7. Like, there should be no extra motivation needed, no amount of pep talks. If you don't realize the moment of a Game 7, like, there's something wrong. And you're talking about a team that was in the flipping finals last year. Man. And you come out against Dallas, and honestly, Dallas kind of seemed like they were playing with house money. Like, they seemed like they had nothing to lose. Luka came out and hit his first 2 shots, and they weren't necessarily easy shots either. He was just like, oh, okay, this might be one of those nights. But, like, you would expect Booker to come back down and give it to him, and they were missing shots. They were taking bad shots. Now, coming out talking about maybe possible chemistry issues. Maybe Chris Paul was nursing an injury at 37 years old. He's talking about, we're coming back. We're expected to come right back and be back here next year and all that. It's just like, man, look, nothing is promised in sports. Nothing is promised in the NBA. Like, you guys squandered an opportunity. I think maybe they got a little too full of themselves. They start smelling themselves a little bit too much. Like, it wasn't that long ago when you guys were in the dumpster of the league. So, like, don't act like you've been there before so many times, because you haven't. You guys really have just arrived. The bubble was a good, time for them. And then after the bubble, they've been a really good basketball team. But we're only talking about, the last 3 seasons?
Right.
And so I think what is tough is you go up. They struggled a little bit against New Orleans in the last series, but got it done. And then you go up 2 games in this series, and maybe you think it's just, it's all gravy. But Jason Kidd's just like, look, I made some mistakes in my past coaching stops, but I've learned. I've won a championship with the Lakers. Like, I'm here. Like, I know what I'm doing at this point. What a masterclass of a coaching job Jason Kidd did. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason. Maybe not as a coach, but as a player, he knows what, as a point guard, he knows how to figure some things out. And he figured some things out. And the Mavs played as good of basketball as you can expect from them over the last several games of the series, and they deserved it. They deserved to win. It was just an all-out shellacking, and it was just kind of off-putting. It was just like really jarring to see that effort in a Game 7 from Phoenix.
On Friday, we were talking about the Vikings and how important coaching is. I mean, in all of sports over the last 5-10 years, certainly you mentioned a masterclass by Jason Kidd, just an X factor, a wild card. You don't think about, we always analyze all the players, the X's and O's, the matchup on the court, but Jason Kidd, man, he outcoached the Phoenix Suns there. And certainly the best team. You always want the best team to win. The best team won last night. Suns' second straight year losing a series. They were up 2-0 in. And now they're just the second team ever to win 64 regular season games, most in the NBA, and not make it to the chip. The only other team was actually, in fact, the Dallas Mavericks in 2007. You asked, I don't know what happened to the Phoenix Suns. I'm not sure it was so much the Phoenix Suns, more so it was Luka. I think the Luka effect right now, man. I mean, he is playing on another level. He's just overwhelmingly the best player in the NBA playoffs right now. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see him match up against the Warriors with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and a healthy Klay Thompson finally.
Yes.
We'll get into that during this week for sure. They square up Wednesday versus the Golden State Warriors. Going to be just a great series. The other Game 7 that took place in Boston, where the Celtics had their backs up against the wall. They were down 3-2 in the series. They go on to win 2 in a row, beat Giannis and the Bucks 109-81, thanks to an NBA record-setting 22 three-pointers. Grant Williams scored a career-high 27 points. Jason Tatum adds 23 of his own. They outscored the Bucks 61-38 in the second half, Reggie. The Celtics are the hottest team in the NBA. Remember, they were sitting in ninth place in the Eastern Conference back on February 1st. What do you like from the Celtics last night in the series, how they came back? And I guess, how scared should the Miami Heat be playing a team with just so much momentum right now?
Hey, they should be really scared. You know, I think playoff Jimmy is a different dude, and the Heat play like a team who's been there before. You know, it's funny, you talk about the Suns. I feel like the Heat are kind of like the anti-Suns. And they have a coach with championship pedigree. He coached LeBron and D Wade, and, you know, he's won several rings as a head coach. And Eric Spoelstra, I think he's one of the best head coaches in the NBA. And, you know, it's going to be tough. I could see that next series going 7 as well. Boston is playing good right now. And what a job from Coach Udoka, really just like locking in. I think he made a comment like, you know, they were saying how, you know, they went down, the Celtics went down and all that. And he was just like, yeah, it's going to make for a great comeback when we win this series. And they went and did it. And I think, you know, you're talking about Luka being like the best guy in the playoffs right now. I think you have to put Jason Tatum right up there with him. And if Luka's 1A, Jason's 1B. And I just think he is like turning into a legitimate bona fide superstar in front of our very eyes. I think he's been a star, but like the dude just kind of seems to have just like no conscience out there. He's just out there like balling. And the compliment of Jaylen Brown, like this team is dangerous. And if Al Horford is going to play like he's playing this last series, like turning back the hands of time and dominating like that, like I think the Celtics have what it takes to get it done. But that Heat team is solid top to bottom, and they got a lot of depth as well. And so I think that has the makings of a signature classic of a series that probably goes 7 as well.
You brought it up, so I'll own it. At the beginning of the playoffs, we had our predictions. I went chalk in the West with the Suns. And if you remember, I picked the Nets as my finals team right here on this show. And my reasoning was, well, if they can beat the Celtics, they'll just have so much confidence and momentum. They'll be able to beat anybody. Well, the Celtics win that. They beat KD, and then they go beat Giannis and the Bucks. And now they're the team no one should want to face with all the momentum on their side. Number 1 defense in the league. You know, Miami Heat have a top 5 defense as well, but their scoring from time to time leaves you wanting a little more, especially that half-court offense can sputter a little bit at times. So that's just going to be a great series again. They'll square off with the Heat in Game 1 Thursday night. Let's hit the reset button. Quick NBA Finals predictions now, Reggie. Final 4 teams left. Who do you like?
I'll go Warriors just because, you know, they've been there before. And
It's tough.
Whew.
I don't know what I would love to. I should have pulled up the Vegas odds. I mean, I'm assuming the Miami Heat are favored just by a hair.
I mean, they've been there. They,
Yeah, they've been
they
there.
were the
But yep,
bubble finals team. But you know what? The Celtics are playing so good right now. I'm gonna go Warriors. I'm gonna go Celtics
I like
finals.
that. I got to take the Celtics again because of the same reason I had the Nets. I think they've just beaten so much great talent, KD, Giannis. Now I think they feel like they can beat anybody, man. They're playing with house money, more or less. Nothing to lose. Miami Heat have all the pressure in the West, so I'm going with the number one player in the league and the coaching with Jason Kidd paired up. Luka, Jason Kidd. It'd be a huge upset, man, but I think they could do it. Mavs, Celtics.
We
That's my prediction. Man,
also, I will say too. How about Giannis, man? Like
Oh,
that was an incredible postseason performance from him. He left it all out there. He gave it his very all. And nothing but respect to him, nothing but respect to the Bucks. Like they had that championship pedigree, going up 3-2 and putting themselves in position to win that series without Chris Middleton. But then you saw in that game 7, like they needed Chris. Like Giannis tried to do as much as he could, but like he needed his Robin. And Middleton being hurt, you hate injuries, man, because you would love to have seen these two teams duke it out at full strength. And what ended up happening is just the Celtics had much more firepower when it came down to it in Game 7 than the Bucks did. But I am sure that we're going to see the Bucks back in that same position next year, challenging for another championship because, like, they have it, and Giannis has arrived. Like, no question about it. He's arrived. He's one of the best players on the planet, if not the best player on the planet. He's got it all together. And I think, it was tough to see that injuries kind of derailed what could have been another like repeat type championship performance from them. But I think we'll see him again next year.
so often you get to the playoffs, these teams have to just scratch and claw and just battle night in and night out during the end of the regular season to get into the playoffs. That injuries end up playing such a huge factor in all of sports in come playoff time. And that's why the teams with the best depth and best coaching, like we talked about, ends up finding a way to kind of sneak their way through and get towards the end, whether it's conference championship or the actual finals. Certainly would have been great to see the Bucks and Giannis again with the full roster. You wish it was Madden. You could just turn off the injuries for a little bit during the playoffs, but it just doesn't work like that.